without further ado, we'll throw this over to Will. The way that these updates are structured are by investment. So we'll start with Growth Fund 1. So just from oldest investment forward, the only one that we're not touching upon today because it doesn't have any major construction projects ongoing is Londonderry, but every other investment project has something that we'll be speaking to. So Will, over to you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good to meet everyone. My name is Will Lockard. I oversee all the construction projects, expansion, CapEx items for Hearthfire. So just going to run through some of the milestones we've hit here within the past few months. We got a lot of stuff going on the construction end, starting to get a lot of approvals, permits. So it's a pretty exciting time. We'll be breaking ground on a lot of stuff here in the next month to 3 months on different projects. So to start out, going to talk about Greentree. This is in Mountjoy, Pennsylvania. We've changed a little bit of the layout that was originally proposed there. We are dealing with updated civil and architectural plans, and we expect to have them here probably within the next week or two. We've had pre-application meetings with the township officials to kind of give them a rundown of a general layout. We do have to go for a small variance just for the building size. They were heavily in favor of this. They understand that, you know, their current stipulations for the township are a little antiquated. So we don't expect any pushback on those variances. We are targeting June 7th for submission and expect to be scheduled for the July hearing with the zoning office. We will be running, you know, additional construction documents. Once we get that approval, we'll go right in for building permit. We have already started talking with general contractors in the area. We have a pretty wide range of options there, but they will probably be local to Pennsylvania as far as that goes. And we have started to bid that out. All right, so Growth Fund 2 would be the LaPorte, Indiana properties. Specifically, this first one is going to be Detroit Street. We actually just got our permit approved today, so super exciting. We've been in the process of moving current tenants out of the buildings will be converted to self-storage hallway systems. So yeah, we're ready to pick up a permit. We'll be selecting contractors here probably tomorrow. We have a working meeting with our development team to run through all the bids on that. We expect to select a demo contractor yet this week and move that along into the demo permit so we can get started on that. Overall, the city is very excited for this property to be converted. It's in more of an industrial setting, as some of you know, within LaPorte City. So they're really excited, and they have our back with you know, all the changes, updates. They're really looking forward to really securing the site and kind of bringing it into you know, that nicer area and you know, continuing to build the city for the people that are living there. We do have all the MEP documents, architectural CDs. Again, we've been back and forth with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. As ridiculous as that sounds, Indiana does require that for building permits. So Detroit Street moving along great. Our scheduled completion date is October of this year. Yeah, that's it for Detroit Street. So Third Road, we'll be adding an additional building. We are in the permit process there. We have all of our architectural documents received with the structural documents coming as well. We have submitted the building permit there. This is in Plymouth, so it is a different permit process. We do expect to have a permit by mid-June. Everything out in Indiana seems to move pretty quickly once you get to the permit process. We've also engaged a local attorney there that is very well known in the area, knows the mayor. So he's been able to expedite a lot of this stuff throughout, the permit process and approvals. Again, this project is also looking like October of 2023 to be complete. These projects will all be running concurrently. We're actually using group pricing with a lot of our subcontractors to get better pricing, as we have 4 different properties within probably a 20-mile radius. All right, Old Buffalo Road, another one. We have all of our construction documents done. The project buyout is underway. This is another one. We'll be making some decisions on subcontractors here this week. Building permit application is pending. Again, also dealing with the Department of Homeland Security for Indiana. So that is another one we're looking at October of 2023 for completion. Let's see. Sergio, I don't know, did you want to touch on that comment in the chat?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Sure.
The short answer, I was actually typing a reply, but I'll jump in. Nick, yeah, the short answer is yes. In every one of the markets that we are in, we're continuously evaluating any other construction, and we have no known new competition in any of the markets. The positive demand that we underwrote to still exists, and in fact some of the other projects are still being developed, like behind in some of the Indiana properties. There's a lot of new construction, rental, new housing, and big buildings there. So when we got into these markets, we had a nice surplus of demand that we could, even above and beyond that will be supported by the new supply that we're bringing online. So nothing's changed there. There's no other supply that's coming online that's impacting our projects.
All right, great. Yeah, so that's Old Buffalo. Like I said, the 3 properties we just went over are very similar in timeline. They tend to be the smaller CapEx value add plays. So all looking good there. All right, Crete, Illinois. So we are currently in construction there. We have the site work all but completed with the exception of some paving. With the paving or asphalt plants opening here in early May, everyone's trying to get scheduled. Our plan here is to get the first coat of binder down, really clean up the site. As Sergio mentioned, the way this site was originally laid out, the existing buildings are at the back of the property, with the expansion going at the front of the property. Access issues during construction, have had some impact on current tenants. So our priority here is to get some asphalt down, really clean up the site and allow access for the existing tenants to kind of mitigate some of those tenant issues. We are in the process of annexing this into the city of Crete. This is all running concurrently with construction. There's no, holdups there. We did receive our Indiana DOT permit, and we are all good there. We expect to start our footing and foundations next week, with buildings coming as soon as we get the concrete in. Expect the first building in July. Our plan there, with each individual building, they're actually permitted separately. So our plan is to really hit that first building as quickly as possible and get a certificate of occupancy building by building. That way we can start rentals sooner than later while we're still actually in construction. All right, Fitchburg, Massachusetts. This is a conversion of the building that's pictured there. We did get our phase 2 structural plans back. We have contractors in the process of bidding that. Those bids are due this week. And we expect to move forward with that as soon as possible. With that being said, we do have the ability to start building units, shifting tenants, and really start construction before requiring an actual building permit. With it being an existing use, the city will actually allow us to install new hallway systems and doors and create units there, technically without a building permit, strictly because it is, an existing use. So we are getting pricing using the unit mix that we have from our architect, and that whole tenant process has begun to start shifting people so we can really get into construction here. The hope here is we can run that concurrently with the structural updates. Upcoming stuff with Fitchburg, we have the MEP field study coming. That'll shore up all of our architectural plans so we can finalize permit submissions. The MEP stuff obviously will require a building permit to do. And we expect the rest of our construction documents here by mid-June. The structural work we can kind of run concurrently with that permit process. Northville Road in LaPorte, Indiana. This is an exciting one. As you can see from the rendering, it's a beautiful building. We do have final CDs in hand for this. The building permit application is submitted, and we have already started the bidding process with different GCs. All of our other permits are in place or submitted, excuse me. The city does require a 45 to 60-day review period. They've since moved to an online submission system, and it's honestly, it's been a mess. We've had a lot of issues with the way they do their submissions, getting comments back, but they do give themselves 60 days. We are working with the same legal representation as the other LaPorte properties to try to expedite this where possible. We do expect final bid pricing in the next 2 weeks there to start making decisions on subcontractors.
One thing, and let me see, I'll mention, cut it over to me after Laurel real quick when you're done with this one. Will, please.
Yeah, sure. So Laurel, Delaware, again, full construction documents are complete. We are approved. We have a couple permits that we are, I believe, just waiting to be memorialized into the city. We had to do an annexation with this property as well. So it's basically just a rubber stamp at this time to get final permits and everything. This is another project we are in the bid process of, finding a GC and subcontractors for this. And we do have a township meeting in early June. I don't have the exact date for that. To kind of finalize that, the paperwork for that, which is the final piece for us to get permits.
So one thing worth mentioning with the income portfolio is, if you may recall, and if you're an investor here on these projects, that we didn't have construction debt previously, and we essentially we didn't halt the raise, but we basically weren't promoting it as we were identifying sources of construction debt. The capital markets have been in turmoil for the better part of at least the last 8 months, if not longer. So we were kind of letting that materialize, letting interest rates kind of stabilize, at least from where lenders are more active or back to being active. And so we recently were actually in the process of marking up a term sheet. We got a really strong term sheet that we got from Ameriserve Financial, who really is hot on lending to self-storage, and they've gave us a preliminary interest rate of 6.25 and 24 months IO, starting with Laurel, but expecting that to be extended to LaPorte as well. And that's exciting because in addition to a great interest rate, they're also loaning a very high loan to cost. So it's showing, it continues the theme of what I mentioned earlier, that there's even a lender appetite in self-storage, but it also presents a really good opportunity if you're considering or have invested in this portfolio, interested in potentially increasing your investment, or if you're not invested in it, you are interested in learning more about it. Now's a good time, because as we get these projects launched, a lot of things have transpired. If you're already an investor, obviously the preferred return's been accruing, but it also is a good opportunity to jump in right now, as well as we are about to launch. So your capital lockup period will be shorter now because of a lot of the work that's already been done. And then I'll also mention, related to, I believe we've talked about all of the projects in play, but one of the things that we're launching is a debt fund or an income fund as an investor. And basically, the income fund is allowing us to be a lender on some of these projects, as well as out nationally. There's a big demand for middle market private lending, whether it be mezzanine debt, whether it be portions of construction loan, preferred equity, and those types of things. So we've gotten a significant amount of demand from some of our investors for those products. And to give you an idea, the rates that we're initially targeting are 7 to 10% returns. And again, these are static returns because they're being the capital is being lent out on the backside. We're considering using some of the income fund to support some of the construction needs, like a Fitchburg and those types of projects. So if you're interested in that, we'll be sending out more information as that is developed. But if you're interested in that, let us know. We're going to have some options that are going to have liquidity terms, meaning shorter lockup period, and then longer lockup period to get those really high interest rates. And those the returns on that product will likely be quarterly, and then potentially down the road monthly distributions. So thought I'd throw that out there as we're talking about some of these projects that we may be utilizing some of that product for. That actually is the conclusion of the update. Let's stop here and go to questions. All right, I see a question in here. When do you finish the construction report? Explain the income tax withholding by Indiana with Growth Fund 2. I don't know why everybody's showing up as Melody here. Can whoever that is, can you get off of mute so I can understand the question a little bit more?
Hi, Sergio. It's Ed Cotter. I sent back. Well, it just came through on your investment update from Q1, note on state tax withholding. And
oh, yeah. Sorry, I missed some. There's a number of tax things. So basically, there's a state tax withholding on the distributions. And while I'm not a tax professional, it's either we can do it a couple different ways, either make it all on the investors to do or process the taxes on our end. It's cleaner if it's done on our end. The taxes are paid, and then it should not have any impact or not something that you should be filing on your own. Otherwise, what might end up happening is, if it's determined, and I don't know how it all works, that if the partnership doesn't pay the full tax fright, then there might be a partnership liability down the road.
Okay, but the bottom line for us and for me is we don't need to be filing a separate tax return for Indiana or any other state that you're invested in. Is that correct?
That is correct, as far as I understand it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments on any topic? Otherwise, we will wrap up for this month.
Yeah, and if you have any feedback on the format, the content, we're constantly tweaking our approach here. Our goal is always to provide that medium for us to have the dialogue, keep you updated as much as possible. As you can see with all of the work that's going on behind the scenes, there's a big lift and we're navigating a lot. But oftentimes you just get the investor reports, and in many cases there's questions. So we want to give an opportunity to have that conversation.
Next month, June session, will be bringing in our Director of Acquisitions, Henry Metcalf. He'll be talking about the underwriting process. He's since coming in, he's re-underwritten the entire portfolio. I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about what kinds of things they're seeing in the market as they're continuing to look for opportunities. July, we'll bring Mike B in to do a quarterly kind of summary and overview. So we'll kind of be not shifting, but we'll be alternating the cadence so that you're getting regular updates across construction. We'll probably bring you back in as we get closer to October so that we can celebrate some of these projects being done and the progress on them. So just giving you different voices and different more detailed updates across the different divisions that are impacting how your investments are performing. So that's a little sneak peek to hear. Let me confirm, Ed, on the filing of tax returns. So let me just confirm that with our CPA firm as far as investors responsible for filing individual tax returns in each state.
The state returns, yeah. I want to make sure that we confirm what that process is, because every state might be a little different. So I don't want to speak out of turn. We always say defer to your own tax professional for any of this stuff, but we'll get an answer what the expectations. I'll send a communication out to all investors on that.
Okay. Thank you for asking.
All right, if nothing else.
I'm sorry, we almost missed Nick's question.
Okay. 3 projects. How are you doing on Growth Fund 2? How are we doing with liquidity with the 3 projects all coming together soon? So we are fully funded, Nick, with Growth Fund 2. We have the equity required for our portion of the construction and the construction loans already in place. So nothing that we are funding here is a liquidity issue right now. We're fully funded on those projects. In fact, we've worked hard, and in most cases we are under budget or at budget. So we don't have any liquidity issues. The operating capital, we have our reserves in place. So everything is pretty hunky-dory.
Was that the question?
Yeah, that's it. Cool figure. I like to hear it too. Yeah, we're pretty conservative in how we underwrite, and in some cases like Crete, for example, the budget that we underwrote to and what we're actually on target are off, but in a very good way. So anything can happen. So we'll reconcile that to the end. I want to take, since we do have some time here real quick, no, I don't want to stop sharing. I want to just show you guys, if you haven't already seen this is a feature with Crete that we have on the Ox Blue camera system, and Will literally put this up himself. So what you can do is, all of you should have access to this, and I think there's a link on the investor portal for Crete. And as we get these construction projects, those that are significant enough, we're going to get this up and running. But basically, at any given time, this is pretty unheard of in the industry, this level of transparency. But basically you can do a time-lapse video of the project. So you can see this is from when the project started. We have these cameras set up there. You can see over winter time, you can see the materials that were deployed, and then you'll start to see the site work being done, dealing with all the frozen ground, and now you can see the spots where the storage units are going to be, and then you could pretty much pan left and right. And then it's just an opportunity for us to keep an eye on our projects as well from a distance without having to fly there. The function of the platform is pretty neat in the sense that we can even do things like check for site liabilities with contractors, making sure they're wearing vests, things like that, and you know, get reports on when somebody was last working and that kind of thing. So pretty neat feature if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out and you're in Crete, but otherwise stay tuned for that to be rolled out for other projects. So